Today, we're going to talk about the skill that people talk about the most in League of Legends, teamfighting. Everybody knows that better players are superior fighters. You always hear casters and analysts describe certain players as amazing late game team fighters. In fact, most games are won or lost with just one mistake or outplay in a team fight. Skills like farming, resource management, map awareness, and warding aren't sexy, so most players don't like to be told to focus on them. The truth is that, although fighting is just as important, you're probably better off improving those skills. The most important thing about a fight, however, is how you prepare for it. If you aren't prepared mentally, you won't know where to look and what to do. Let's go through 2 example videos so you can understand the difference in visual attention during a fight from the perspective of players of different skill levels. I want you to keep your eyes on the blue bubble. That's where the person is focused at that specific instant throughout the fight. Let's watch how this Thresh plays out this team fight. We're going to show the moments leading up to the fight, and as you can see, Thresh keeps his eyes on the area in front of him and his own field of view. Glances at the minimap, glances at the timer, but really not much else outside of that. You can see he goes down here, and then in the bush, sees the skill shot go off, gets caught unaware by the Lee Sin that is coming up here, manages to press a few of his buttons, and then just dies. This probably mimics most of the team fighting you'll see from the average player. For this player, we're going to start off when they're actually dead. And the goal is to see how they look at a team fight before coming in. You can see they're watching every player, looking at the map, and trying to understand what is going on and who's using what cooldowns. They get to the fight without looking at their own character, come in, instantly score a kill while having tracked 2 other players on the map. They quickly dispose of one player, teleport to the next player, and use their toolkit very effectively to be able to track all the different objects. And even during this chase right here, they are constantly scanning different cooldowns, different items, and the minimap itself. You may have noticed a few things. The player in the first video is a lower level player. They focus on what's in their immediate field of view at all times. You may be wondering why I chose such a lame fight instead of one filled with action. I specifically wanted to highlight how differently they approach information gathering before the fight. The higher level player is watching the fight as if they are participating, while the other player is unable to focus more than on themselves. While the fight is ongoing, not only is a challenger player able to watch the fight, but also track opponents leaving the fight. They continue to use information from all sources vigilantly throughout the fight. As you saw, where you look when you're fighting is extremely important in League of Legends. Factors like optimally positioning, watching for cooldowns, and looking out for flankers can all make a huge difference in coming out with a team fight victory. However, you cannot make optimal decisions if you don't have a strong understanding of the fundamentals on top of knowing where to focus in a fight. So how do these guys get so good? They play a lot, obviously. That helps. If you've ganked mid lane 100 times as Lee Sin, it's very different than your second or third time. God forbid it's your first time. Your heart isn't racing, you aren't nervous, and you know exactly what to expect. Hold on, let's stop there. They know what to expect. Anticipation is extremely important when it comes to good fighting. LCS Kobe has a great video about this that I recommend you check out. It's referenced in the description. Most good players have a very strong sense of awareness of what is happening at that particular moment. On a macro level in the game, think player locations, and a micro level, think player cooldowns and summoners. This allows them to anticipate how the fight is going to go. They usually will have a mental sequence playing out in their brain on how to approach the fight. For example, I'm going to go into this fight and use my Q, and then I'll save my ultimate for when he uses his Q. Then I'll use my E to disengage when his jungler joins. I should have enough damage to kill them before then, especially if my ally lands at least 2 out of his 3 abilities. Think of that sequence as a mental flowchart. Any sort of unaccounted for element will disrupt their plan, which is why it's so important to properly assess the game state before fighting. Check items, location of jungler, missing laners, basically anything that will give you an edge and make you more certain of your plan. Remember, a plan is worthless without good execution, and to do that, nothing substitutes good old practice. So get those games in. So what can you do to improve? First, prepare for your fights. Take stock of all the information you can. With an eye tracker, we can measure how well you're doing that and how consistently as well. The more information you have processed, the more optimal decisions you will make on how to engage. Then, you can plan out the sequence of events like we described earlier. Think through your opponent's options and strength levels, and don't be tunneled on just your own outcomes. If you know what they will do, then you can do something better. And most of all, don't be afraid to mess up. Give it your best and realize that you will learn. With time, your mental flowchart will be better and your ability to construct it on the fly will become more instantaneous. Second, you have to review your fights. Watch your own replays. How could you have approached the fight better? Could you have come in from a different angle or timing? Were you positioned optimally in the fight? Could you have saved your cooldown for key moments? What do you think you did well, but upon watching, didn't actually do what you thought you did? Pay attention to these biases, as they often are the key to leveling up as a player. Finally, watch players better than you in similar situations. See what they do. Incorporate that into your playbook. Fail and do it again. Note any improvements that you've made since the last time. After all this, you can profit. It's great to see yourself improve. So allow yourself that positive reinforcement by celebrating your small victories. Watch your own replay and see that you set up a fight super well, just like you prepared. Pat yourself on the back. Good job. If the fundamentals of League of Legends are farming and vision, then fighting is the lifeblood of any player. Every player measures themselves by how well they defeat their enemies. As Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Be prepared, know yourself and the enemy.